The date is Tuesday, February the 6th, 1996. The survivor is Nat Pivnik. The interviewer is Sharon Tyler. The city is London. We're in England, and the language of the interview is English. My name is Sharon Tyler. Today's date is Tuesday, February the 6th, 1996. I'm interviewing Nat Pivnik. We're in London, England. Please tell me your name and spell it.
Nat Pivnik, P-I-W-N-I-K.
Thank you. Were you known by any other names?
No.
Okay. Please tell me your date of birth and age now.
5th of the September, 1924, 71.
And the city and country of your birth?
Będzin, town called Będzin, in Poland, also known as Silesia.
How do you spell Będzin?
B, E, N, D, Z, I, N.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell me something about your early childhood in Będzin?
Well, it was a happy one.
What memories do you have of your family?
Very good one.
Who was in your family?
Older sister and 5 brothers, yeah. My brother Sam, me, Maya, Wolf, and Yosida.
And you were the oldest boy.
Yeah.
What was that like?
A very normal way. School, Haida. And wonderful parents.
What do you remember about your parents?
They are not so many. Well, they are, but very Jewish. Very, very normal Saturdays, Friday nights. Well, my father belonged to a shtibel. Which it is a small congregation, like a shtibel in London or anywhere else nowadays. And on Saturday we went there because it was a long way away, long walk. But Fridays we went locally. And Shabbos was Shabbos.
What kind of food did you eat on Shabbos?
There was special food cooked for Shabbos, like here or many other places, such Yovach, chicken soup, or mixed with meat, perhaps sometime, or on chicken on its own, but fish and no more.
Did you have visitors on Shabbat?
Well, not many, because only on the afternoons, but not Friday nights or Saturday mealtime, because people didn't ride, they didn't travel. There was obviously trams and coaches, but people didn't, unless they had a walking distance, they didn't travel back. So there was few visitors on a Friday or Saturday lunchtime, like mealtime, because we had a big family. My grandmother lived with us too. And so it was strictly observed.
It was an Orthodox community that you lived amongst. Were there many Jewish people in the town?
Oh, lots. The majority was Jewish people. The majority. Of course, there were Christian people living there as well. But the majority, there was many shtibus and lots of Jewish people. The majority were Jewish people in town. And people very observant. If they did something, it was not officially, not people should see. If anybody did something not supposed to, but it was very observant. It came Friday afternoon, towards evening was like Jerusalem. Yes, the aroma, the smell on Friday afternoons was, the atmosphere was Saturday. And then towards later on, people went to shul or shtibel, everybody dressed, and busy going to shul or shtibel. The atmosphere was there. Yeah.
What was your school like?
It was the most modern I've experienced, even here. We had, the principal was Jewish, but we had Christian teachers, women or men as well, but also Jewish teachers, of course, mixed. And there was a religious teacher, which I don't remember how often, but he had his classes in Hebrew, and speaking Jewish and Hebrew, teaching history, and like a rabbi would. The school was double glazed in those days, central heating, corridors. If there was bad weather, which rain or snow, in the winter, or autumn or whatever, in the intervals, we marched around the corridor. It was very wide, doors on each side with glasses, and it was red tiled. We was not allowed to walk up. It was, I don't know, 4-story high or whatever. In shoes, we had to go up in slippers. Everybody, except the teachers. But then they were not heavy shoes to to damage, I suppose.
It was so you didn't make it dirty, is it? Is that why you wore slippers?
Oh, one reason, but probably not to damage the tiles, and because it was beautifully tiled, the corridors, and clean, and the classes inside were, I don't know what they've used, but it was red and polished. Whatever it was made of, I don't particularly remember or know. And we had our own band. Oh yes.
Were you in the band?
No, they were usually older boys. And the teacher of the music was, I remember distinctly what he even looked like. He always came in his Polish uniform because he was from the Polish army. And he was a bit sort of stocky, red-faced a bit. But of course, he was teaching the music. And every class had what I called in Polish przyroda. Means outside in the school ground, every class has its own piece of land, sort of marked out to grow things, to learn about little trees, a couple of trees, or small things like that. And in the winter they put water in the ground on the it was paved, or it was solid thing, quite a big area. The little gardens were on the side, all around. And they put water, and it froze, and were ice skating. Yes. And the principal's name was Rappaport. We come Jewish holidays, not religious type of things, sort of, but anniversaries of certain things. The school band marched in front, and with the conductor, going to shul. It was quite a little bit of a way, but that's what it was. And in the shul there was a beautiful shul. They had speeches and all sorts of things like to do with the religion. And every child had a uniform. It was a blue suit with a green stripe here, and a cap, a round cap, with green stripe around, narrow stripe, the same as like here. And blue uniform, everybody had to have that. Everybody had that. Our teachers were very strict on hygiene. They checked. Not everybody, but when they fancied. When they thought something is not correct, absolutely. They looked in the ears, they looked in the neck for cleanliness. Clean shirt, had to be out, the collar, white. And that was the school. They taught such a thing as metalwork, woodwork. Downstairs were big classes. And it was a nice school.
It was all Jewish boys,
all Jewish,
wasn't it?
All Jewish. There was a Jewish school.
You also went to Heder after school?
After school, yes.
What did you do at Heder?
Learned. Davening, Chumash.
Did you go every day to Haida?
Yeah.
Every day after
Oh,
school.
yes. The teacher must have been, I suppose, 40 odd boys. Coming back to the school, at first it was only a boys' school, for boys. But the later years they introduced girls on the top floor. Not together, didn't sit together, no way. I remember they introduced, it must have been, because there was a girls' school in town, must have been an overflow. So, and they had space. I suppose they introduced the girls separate classes. It was a nice school.
Did you belong to any youth movements?
Oh,
as
yes.
well?
Yeah, who didn't?
Tell me about that.
Huh? There was, first of all, there was many, quite a few organizations, different, meaning the same thing but different names. Shaman Tyler, and Hanoa. There was even the Bund. They had different ideas, of course, I suppose. And there was Jabotinsky's. And I belonged to the Gordonia. Yeah.
What did you do in Gordonia?
There's a film there, a picture about it. Well, learning Hebrew, trying to teach us Hebrew, learning Hebrew, and speeches and learning about Israel or Palestine at the time. And sort of Israeli dances, or rather Palestinian at the time, and speaking, trying to learn to teach us to speak, and learning about Israel generally, and histories about Palestine, about Israel, and the aim was to go there. But things have changed. Yeah.
Did you personally experience any anti-Semitism in Beijing?
Yeah, well, it depended. I mean, we had Christian neighbors, which we lived quite very well together, obviously. But there were outsiders, of course, from out town or some other areas around. And we played football. And there was Jewish, there were Jewish football teams. And they played with Christians, I mean with other from in town or from outside. It's like here, they play with different teams. But if they lost, the Christian, when it wasn't, which happens, of course, it was Hakoah, and it was Gwiazda, Star. So when we went out from the football grounds, if they lost, there was fights. But we fought back. We fought back. We were not scared of them. And And we also played like from outside, like from just out town, that some fellas got together and say, we have a football match. But that was not in the football ground, it was outside where there was grass and space. And the same thing, if they lost, there was fights. But we were very adventurous. We didn't let ourselves. I will say that. It, of course, I remember what they called, they were organizing program, they wanted to. But the people in my town, I remember, and depending which place, which town, they were not scared. In fact, it didn't appear, it didn't happen. But it was going to, very close. But they were, the Jewish people, they were quite organized, very well organized, but they were not frightened people. They fought back. It's like in Europe, it's not like exactly here, but this, it's like if you imagine in France or Belgium, for example, or mainly in France, there were big gates, like to enter to the house. And there were the left and the right, the buildings, people lived on first floor or ground floor and so on. Like in Europe, like in France, Paris, you can imagine. And the big gates were open. We didn't even shut them. It was expected, but it didn't appear because the people were not scared, they were not frightened, they were ready for them. But it was not mainly, was outsiders, which if this thing would have happened, it wasn't the town's Christian people, they didn't. They were not for that sort of thing. It's outsiders from around. But it didn't happen. It passed by. But the police were also very strict. They didn't play about. If there was something of this kind, they were ready. They were not against us. They were what police supposed to do. But if there was anything that some kind of suspicion and gatherings and they suspect something like that, similar, whatever, they got in amongst them and they didn't play. They used their truncheons. The police was always armed, each one, openly. But if I happened to be out late at night and they were doubly armed, including rifles. But they were not against us, not the police. What happened later is different. They were sacked, of course, when the Germans came in. And we had the German police then.
What do you remember about the start of the war?
Well, as youngsters, we didn't understand. Well, at least none of us understood what's waiting. There were the people tried to, or rather, they were ordered to prepare, like I've forgotten Polish or Yiddish how they call it, dugouts, but in not straight. So if there is a bomb, so this other one doesn't suffer anyway. And there were alerts, and there were planes, and there were bombing. But before they entered the Polish army or started disappearing, we had big army camps in our town. Artillery, cavalry, 23rd. People ran about and tried to organize because police disappeared, the army suddenly, they were taken to the fronts, whatever. Then we heard this Jewish fellow which in Polish army got killed on this one. And suddenly it becomes quiet, and the lights in the streets were switched off and windows were obviously covered, so there is no lights. And then I remember on a Friday the Germans came in. Well, the first lot, they were army, and we didn't know who they are, because we thought maybe the French or something. But we were youngsters, and what did we understand about those things? But then suddenly people which knew better and recognized more said those are the Germans. But the first lot didn't. They just came and went further, all motorized and organized. But then behind them comes different lots.